You're listening to the Endless Party Radio Show with the Doc on Colossal Radio.
He's a director, he's an actor, and he is a comedian by the name of Jay Black. And he's going to be at the flagship location of Wisecrackers Comedy Club up there in Wilkes-Barre, up there at Mohegan Sun. So I got to welcome Jay to the show. Jay, are you there?
I'm here, Doc, and what a voice you have. My God, I wish I had a voice like that.
Really? You know what people have told me, like I should get into like the sex porn, like when they call in, like, you know, when women want to, like, I should have like a script, like I could get into that kind of like, do you agree? Could I do this?
100%. Yeah, people have told me I should get in the business of turning women off. When they're too horny, they call me up. I speak to them for about 10 minutes, and then they go, "You know what? I'm going to do some housework." So we could both be in this business together.
That's really funny, and I'm just not laughing because you're a comedian, but that's actually really funny. Jay Black, listen. Now, has it ever been confusing for you, Jay Black, when, you talk about the group, Jay and the Americans, Jay Black? Has that ever, when they see you going, "You're not Jay Black"?
Yeah, so, especially early on when he was a little bit more active, if I play Atlantic City or Las Vegas, there'd be a lot of people in their 90s super disappointed when I took the stage. But I contend Jay Black is my real name. He's David Blatt, and he stole Jay Black, so I'm keeping my name. You hear that, Jay? The Americans, I'm coming after you.
That is hilarious. Steeper's over in the corner just doing his work, just laughing his ass off. I have a guy here in the corner. We coined him Leave It to Steeper. He's over here cracking himself up, too, and listening to you at the same time. So thank God he's doing some work to earn his keep. Listen, so let's give a little background, man, on Jay Black and when you're going to be up there. I know it's this weekend, but let's do the whole rundown. Where did it all start for you, man?
So, yeah, I actually went to college to be a high school teacher, and I did that for 7.5 years. But I just started doing comedy on the weekends as a way to sort of scratch the itch and let out some stress. And I got pretty good at it, and within 5 years, I was making more money doing stand-up than I was teaching, which doesn't say a lot about my stand-up career as much as it does how low we pay teachers. But I decided to go out and do this full-time, and I've been doing it ever since. And by the way, there's nothing better than telling your father, who helped put you through college, that you're going to take your tenured teaching position, throw it away so you can tell jokes in Wilkes-Barre. It is...
You're funny. How long has this been now?
So this is my 12th year full time as a stand-up. My 19th year just doing stand-up in general, and it's been a real trip. I've gotten to do everything I've wanted. I've traveled the world with the U.S. military. I've been to Las Vegas. I've been to the Mohegan Sun in Wilkes-Barre. I've done everything.
No kidding. I'll tell you what, I can tell, I don't know, maybe doing what I do for a bunch of years, and you're very, for those of you, listening and hanging out with the show, very relatable, even with a couple of those zingers that you just threw out. Very relatable, I think, and I have never seen Jay at all on stage. We have never met. Hopefully down the road when we start doing some Colossal comedy nights up there at Mohegan Sun and bringing some people that want to party and have some fun in a limbo, and we come up to Mohegan Sun, we'll be able to run into Jay Black. But you're very relatable, with your zingers, and I can say that early on here.
I appreciate that very much, Doc. And I think the reason why is, like most people, I have a wife, I have 3 kids, and I'm dead inside. So I think that lets people sort of connect with me on the level that we're all at.
Yeah. How about it? Do you sleep in the spare room?
I used to. When my wife, honestly, when she first had the kids, she would let the baby sleep in the bed, and because I'm a comedian, I would be getting home at 3 a.m. and she'd be like, "Just go sleep in the spare room." So, there's nothing like headlining a spot and feeling super glamorous, and then driving home and sleeping on a cot.
So with your career that has gotten you not only national but international fame already in a short amount of time, which is pretty darn incredible. You're going to be up at Mohegan Sun when?
So I'll be there this Friday and Saturday, and I believe both shows are 9 o'clock, which is, I've been working for Wisecrackers for years. It's one of the first clubs I ever got to play as a little baby comedian. And to watch that franchise expand and take over the spot in the Mohegan Sun, it's just a beautiful place to do comedy, and it's always a pleasure. It's one of the highlights of my year, getting to go up there and be funny for the people at Wilkes-Barre.
I'll tell you, and Scott Bruce, his son Nick, they are really, really stellar people. I am so happy with my bookie. I call him Dave the Bookie because it sounds illegal, and I like that. And Dave the Bookie has done a phenomenal job getting acts, getting content, reaching out to people like yourself, reaching out to Scott and Nick. We've got a lot more that we're going to do with the Wisecracker Comedy Clubs, and even Scott, he's a stellar guy. There's a guy too, as I'm sure you know, in the field. I mean, he's worked with everybody. Everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, he is an amazing man, and he's just a good soul, man. And with you, some people now are going, I never heard of Jay Black, but so many people and others have, obviously, and. Have you had the opportunity to work with some of the people that that are mainstream, if we can say, that are on national TV, whether it be the Howie Mandels? I mean, have you?
Sure. For a long while, I was Kevin Nealon's opening act, and we would travel the country together. So I got to see a lot of the world from his perspective, and I can tell you, he's treated a little bit better than I am, usually, on the road, in the sense that they actually speak to him. But I've had a chance to work with some of the people I grew up with, like Bobcat Goldthwait was one of the best comedians I've ever seen.
Wow.
Close up. And I remember I was backstage with Bobcat, and he was telling me, I don't like stand-up anymore. And he went out, and he absolutely destroyed. And then he walked back, and I was like, I thought you didn't like stand-up. And he was like, yeah, I said I didn't like stand-up. I didn't say I was good. I wasn't good at it.
Mm-hmm.
So he was fantastic. I've gotten to work with guys like Sinbad, and putting together the Hallmark movies like I do. I've gotten to work with a lot of the people that I've grown up watching. Like I did a movie with Scott Wolf from Party of Five, which was the most exciting thing my wife ever saw me do, because she was in love with Scott Wolf growing up. So, when I did that movie, she was on set, just, stars around her eyes. So it's been a lot of fun, just as a guy who never planned this. I haven't even moved out of New Jersey. I still live a mile from where I grew up, to be able to just sort of interact with people that I loved as a kid. It's been a privilege, honestly.
Yeah, that is amazing. And isn't it something how sometimes careers or some of these events that we do in life just kind of like happen for some of us. I think it could happen for a lot of us if sometimes you just let it happen. And I think people put brakes on a lot of things. And when you just go with it, things really seem to fall in place, and I'm certainly, I'm not going to get into my story, but I mean I'm relatable to that, because my whole 30+ year career have come by way of a mistake, because I followed some really, really, really good looking chick that had shorts on into a radio station in college. And I said, where are you going? She's going, I don't know, we're making plans for a party. I was taking general courses in college, and I followed her in because she was smoking hot, and ended up getting a gig at the radio station too. And she ended up being the pizza delivery girl at night on my show. So it was awesome.
Doc, I'm going to tell you, honestly, I think if you look back in history, 97% of all of history started with a nice button short.
No doubt. No doubt. Listen, so you mentioned something about the Hallmark Channel. I mean, director, actor, comedian. Give us a little background on that. The Hallmark Channel, is that really designed though for mostly for women, and and for guys to get a little lucky, like when you want to watch a show, knowing that you might get laid if you watch a movie on the Hallmark Channel with the lady you're with?
Yes, one of the things I like to do is facilitate middle-aged people having sex, and the Hallmark movies hopefully do that. What happened there? I've done a lot of movies outside of Hallmark. What happened was, you travel, and you have an hour of comedy that you do every night, but then you have 23 hours sitting in a hotel room, which sounds like fun, but your two choices are really be productive or do cocaine. So cocaine was too expensive, so I just started writing screenplays, and I've had a few produced that were, independent movies. I did a movie for Lionsgate, and, we took a meeting with this production company that, my writing partner and I, who happened to make movies for the Hallmark Channel. And next thing you know, we have a movie on there, and we have another one coming out in the fall. So it's been a ride. Again, I really agree with what you say that, a lot of comics I know want to write screenplays, and they tell me, well, what do you do to write screenplays? And it's the same thing that I tell people who want to do comedy. You just do it, and then you figure out the rest as you go along.
Yeah.
It is just a matter of, I had time to kill. I wrote 20 scripts that nobody liked, and then the 21st script, somebody said, okay, let's make it.
That's great.
And, some years, depending on how many I sell, I'm either a screenwriter who does comedy or a comedian who also screenwrites.
Yeah.
So this year, I think I'm a screenwriter first.
That's, that is, that's amazing. I mean, totally amazing that, you're able to, certainly able to, cross both genres. I think it's pretty cool, and also the depth that you have. That probably, it's gotta help with you being on stage. It's gotta help.
Yeah, it does in the sense that one of the problems with writing a script, even when you're like doing the sort of light humor of a Hallmark movie, wondering if this joke is going to land or if people are going to like it. Because remember, you write it. A year goes by, and then you say it, and then another 6 months goes by, and then people look at it, and you go, well, is it going to be funny for that entire time? Like, did I get it wrong? And I think being on stage gives you that sense of what people enjoy and what people will laugh at. So writing for the screen is not as hard as I think it would be if I didn't do stand-up.
Yeah, exactly. No, for real. With that said, how hard is it? As Scott said, sometimes, you start out as, it's a tough gig, man. And thank goodness for you people, because you know what? I love to laugh, man. I can laugh at myself. Right. I can laugh in a most respectful way at others. But how tough is it? And thank goodness for you people out there. Like Scott said, it's tough, when you start out. It's a tough gig.
It is. And, what I always say is, I think with most comics, especially in the first 3 or 4 years that they're doing it, when they don't know how to do it right yet, the thing that keeps you going is you love being on stage just slightly more than you hate being on stage. Mm-hmm. Because when you get up there and these people are looking at you, you got to remember comics spent their whole life before they got on the stage sort of defining themselves by how funny they are. This is the thing that I do. I'm a funny guy, and I'm going to show the world. And for the first 3 or 4 years you're on stage, you're not that funny because you haven't figured out how to do it yet. Because it's not just you talking to your friends, it's you talking to a bunch of strangers. Sure. And how do you make those strangers feel like they're your friends? Yeah. And that's the thing you have to learn how to do first, and then the jokes come after. Yeah. So, you have to go up there, and what I always say is, the real skill of being a comic is facing down indifference. Mm-hmm. That look that people have of, well, I don't know if you're funny yet. Mm-hmm. And just sort of smiling and keep going. Mm-hmm. And, that's a masterable skill. You can do it. Yeah. It just, you have to be as insane as most comedians are to keep trying when you fail so many times. How about it, right? But a good lesson to be learned in anything that we all do. Jay Black is going to be at the Wisecracker Comedy Club, their flagship store here, a little further north in Wilkes-Barre, up there at the Mohegan Sun. I don't think you're going to want to miss this guy. What does your wife think about, now you're doing it a long time, but does she ever look at you going, that wasn't funny? She has not found me funny once, I don't think. She's often said that her dream is, if I'm doing really well at a club, to stand up and shout, he's not that funny at home. Has she ever been to your shows? Yeah, early on when we were dating, she would come to a lot of them, but just like anything else, in her mind, what I do is essentially accounting work or salesmanship. Because she's like, oh yeah, Jay's at work. Although I will say, when I perform somewhere where there's a celebrity, she will come. In a month, I'm working with Brad Garrett out in Las Vegas.
Oh, nice.
From Everybody Loves Raymond. And my wife has already hinted, like, August, I'll be out of school. I think I should go to that one. I was like, yeah, I know. It's not to see me. You want to see the famous guy. But I'll take it.
That's funny. I'll tell you, you have a long list of people that you've already worked with in, let's say, a relatively short amount of time, man. That's pretty impressive, Jay.
It's like I said, it's been my singular pleasure. And, you're talking about Scott Bruce. Scott and I worked together early on, and the man knows comedy, and a lot of the advice that he gave me early on bore out to be true. So to be able to come back and work for Scott in this capacity means a lot to me, just because he helped guide me along, and he's a great guy.
He sure is. And with that said, like when we had Scott on with an interview a couple of weeks ago, when we first started this whole thing, and I got to thank Dave Miller and getting so much content coming into the show, and we have so much more going on with the station and with what Dave is working on behind the scenes for all of us. Those of you that are listening on board to Colossal Radio, some really neat things that we're going to do for it'll be neat and something very different. But having Scott on board, like he said, with your the people that he gets up there and in his clubs, they are known throughout the comic world. I mean, he's like, these guys are absolutely incredible comedians, and
right.
and you are, and masters of your field. And for those of you that are listening, you're talking about somebody like Scott Bruce that knows anybody and everybody, from the Drew Carey's to the Howie Mandels, to all of them, and the people that he's bringing into the Wisecracker comedy clubs, and all locations. But like I said, their flagship location at Mohegan Sun. People like Jay Black, I mean, you're in for one hell of a night. I mean, and let's face it, it's that's a great thing, because there's guys starting out. Let's be fair. There's guys starting out until they get, and it's no disrespect to them, but I mean, you guys and the people that they're bringing in at Wisecrackers and focusing on that, like you guys are seasoned. You're there. You've been there, and it's just one hell of a good time.
And if I could just say this, the other two guys on the show with me, this is the kind of show Scott puts together. Glenn Tickle is emceeing, and Chip Chantry is doing the middle. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of people, they come to a comedy club and they go, the first guy, he's usually the weakest, not a big deal. Both of those guys, both of them are headliners. In other clubs, any other club that you go to, they would be the last guy on. They'd be the top dog. Mm-hmm. And, we're friends, and we all like to hang out together. So when you come and see Glenn, understand he did 100 colleges last year.
Wow.
When you see Chip, understand he used to write for late-night television, and he's headlined all over the country. And the opening act that you're going to see are fantastic. So, mm-hmm. Get there on time and watch everybody, and they'll all make you laugh, I promise.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's, I don't know. I'll tell you, getting the read from you with a phone call and the genuineness that I feel through through this whole interview, and for those of you that are listening to this show this Friday and Saturday with this entire headlining group at Wisecracker Comedy Club up there in Mohegan Sun, about half an hour from us here, guys. I wish I was available. I mean, I'm on the road myself tomorrow, and then I actually get to board a cruise ship that I do every year with a couple of 100 drunks and do totally open bar for the week and sail into the Bahamas. That's what I do 1 week out of the summer.
Oh, that's a lot of fun. Yeah, I do cruise comedy 3-4 weeks a year myself, and I always say that's the closest I'll ever come to being super famous, because those people are trapped on the boat with me. So they'll see me at the buffet and go, "I know you," and I'm like, "Yeah, I know you too."
That's fun. You also have done cruise ships, or you still do them too?
Yeah, so it's one of those deals where you know that the appeal is in part that you get to go somewhere very nice.
Right.
So when they call me up, I usually try to work it so that one of my kids can come with me, and I have them fight it out for my favor, like King Lear.
Right.
Sometimes, when I do them in August or July, my wife is a teacher. I can bring all 5 of the family, and we can go and enjoy ourselves.
Sure.
So it's a blast.
Yeah, that's very nice. Are you on for the week? Are you on for the week? Or are you on for a couple of days when you stop at a port?
Oh no, they usually have you on for the whole week. I've done a couple that have been through the Panama Canal, and they were like, well, it's a 2-week cruise, so we'll bring in new comics for the second week, and they flew me out of Ecuador, which there's people who are American, and then there are people who are very American. I'm very American. I was scared to death as we were driving through Ecuador, and my taxi driver kept going, roll up the windows. And I'm like, that's not going to stop a bullet. I wish I could make this show this weekend. It would be so cool to make this show this weekend. And unfortunately, I'm out. But boy, I'll tell you, you certainly, I don't know. You got to come back, man. We'll have to try to team up. I'll reach out to Scott too. It's like, when this guy's coming back, man? When's Jay Black coming back? Absolutely. Let's do a show. I mean, I'll come out. I'd love to sit live with you guys and put everything together. Let's make it happen. I'd love that.
Listen, we're not that far from you. I don't know. What part of New Jersey are you from?
I'm from South Jersey, right outside of Philadelphia. It's the part of Jersey nobody thinks of when they think of New Jersey.
Yeah, you're right.
Everybody thinks of like North Jersey, and it looks like the opening to Blade Runner.
Yeah, right.
I'm down with the cranberry bogs and blueberries.
So you're in the okay section of Jersey.
I am. I'm in the part that the smog starts to lighten up a little bit down where I'm at.
Yeah. And you are close, so let's stay in touch. And you'll find everything that you need to find on colossalradio.rocks on the website to get in touch with us here on the Facebook page, where you're playing throughout the country. Since we have people right now in Vegas that are on board with us, I have people in California that are on board with us. I have people in Kansas, Iowa, Arkansas, all over this country that are hanging out with the show right now. Where can they find information on where you're going to be performing and where you're taking the stage next, Jay?
So I have 2 things I'd love for you to check out. Go to my website, jayblack.tv. That's JAYBLACK.tv. I always say it's the letter, then the color, then the thing that raised you. And then if you check me out on YouTube, I have a YouTube channel, Exit 19 Productions. Just type in Exit 19, you'll find me. There's a lot of fun skits and conversations on that. So either of those are fun.
Very, very cool. It's like I said, it was a real pleasure, to be able to spend a little time with you this coming Friday and Saturday, and all 3 comedians that are coming to the Mohegan Sun, the Wisecracker Comedy Club, right there in Mohegan Sun. Absolutely stellar. You heard Jay talk about every one of them, how he knows them, and they're all headliners in their own right. So you got 3 headliners making one bill, it was a real pleasure. We could go on and on and on, but. You're certainly genuine enough and certainly relatable, and it's great to know that you too sleep on a cot in the spare room every once in a while, because that's
I think all men find their way to the cot at some point.
No doubt, man. No doubt. Listen, it's a real pleasure. Jay Black, director, actor, comedian. Find him online. Give him a like, man, from the website to the Facebook page. Find him. And listen, a real pleasure. Let's stay in touch. And, maybe as you guys that are closer here on the East Coast, we get a whole bunch of you in here, Steber, at one time and get some of these comedians in all at one time. That would be a real colossal mess.
Let's do it. It'll be great.
I'd love it. Steber will bring the donuts. He's the most popular guy in a nudist colony because he can carry 2 cups of coffee and a dozen donuts all at one time. Yeah, he's giving me.
I'm more of a half a bagel kind of guy.
Yeah, that's right. Me too. That's
why I'm on the cot.
Yeah. Yeah, you and me both. That's why I have a radio show, because if it was bigger, I'd be in the movies, man. That's all I know. Listen, Jay Black, what a pleasure, man. Best of luck to you with this coming weekend, and I promise you, we'll hook up down the road. We'll make it fun.
Kighton, Palmerton, Gem Thorpe, and nationwide. It's Colossal Radio. Find us online at colossalradio.rocks.